Are you breathing right now? Duh, of course you are. Well, for that, you can thank microorganisms for creating the atmosphere that you breathe today. But I'll get to that later. Right now, I'm here to talk to you about why microbes are so exciting and why you should care about them. You already know that my career path is in microbiology, and currently I'm a lab assistant in microbiology at AWC. But it's also my hobby. I spend way too much time reading and learning about microorganisms because they make me so excited and they're so cool. But why should you care about them? Well, they're everywhere, is the simple fact. Mostly the disease-causing ones get attention, so a lot of people are actually very scared of germs. But the majority of microorganisms are not harmful, and in fact, tons of them are beneficial. So you might as well get excited about them because they're everywhere anyway. I'm just going to focus today on their impact on the human body, plants, and the entire world, which seems like too much, but trust me, we'll get there. Did you know that for every cell in your body, there are 10 bacteria cells? Yeah, bacteria outnumbers your cells 10 to 1. That's crazy, right? How are we not getting sick all the time? Well, this is because a lot of these are not harmful and they are your resident flora. So that is your microbiome. That is bacteria and other microorganisms that are unique to you. They help you digest, they take up space from harmful germs. They're just overall, they're unique to you and they're so crazy, and you just have like a colony of bacteria on you and in you, and it's amazing. The second thing I want to talk about with the human microbiome is the effect of antibiotics. So antibiotics are a way of killing harmful bacteria, disease causing. When you have an infection, you take antibiotics, which is incredibly useful, but it can be harmful when they're too strong or when antibiotic resistance comes up. I'll teach you a little bit about what antibiotic resistance, how it works. So you have a colony of bacteria here, you take an antibiotic to treat an infection, which will kill most of it, but if one little bacteria evolves to be resistant, then all of the non-resistant ones are killed off, but then there's one resistant one, and you only need one, which can grow and multiply until it's all resistant to the antibiotic, and then you can't be treated. Which is very, very scary. Antibiotic resistance is just kind of a cold war between the drugs and the bacteria that are constantly evolving. So please be careful. Your microbiome is important to humans, but how are they important to plants? Well, I'm sure you've heard of symbiosis. That is a relationship between two things. So plants and microbes are a very common symbiotic relationship. It's essential to agriculture and to entire ecosystems. The first symbiotic relationship I'm going to talk to you about is mycorrhizae. So this is fungi and plant roots. So the plant in this relationship is getting more surface area from this microscopic fungi, which allows it to absorb more water, vitamins, minerals, and the fungi is getting sugar and nutrients from the plant roots. Over 80% of plants use this mycorrhizal fungi. So here's an example of a plant system with mycorrhizal fungi. You can see that the plant system is much more developed and the grass is much greener and flusher than the root system and plant system without mycorrhizal fungi. The second way that plants and microbes interact is root nodules. So this is bundles of bacteria that get trapped within roots, and they help the plant to absorb nitrogen. So plants need nitrogen, but they can't take it from the atmosphere on their own. They can't take nitrogen in a free form. They have to be in a usable form. So what the bacteria does is it takes the nitrogen and fixes it into a usable form for the plants. Which is incredibly important because you need nitrogen to fertilize plants. Okay, so I get it. Microbes are important to human life, they're important to plant life, but how do they infect the entire world? Well, 3.5 billion years ago, when the world was nothing but single-celled organisms and the atmosphere was just nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and methane, completely unbreathable to us now. These single-celled organisms decided, I want a little more energy than anaerobic respiration can give me. So what they did was they learned to photosynthesize, and that pumped out oxygen like nobody's business and created the atmosphere that we're able to breathe today. So how about modern effects of the atmosphere? How does these microbes keep working? Well, you got the nitrogen cycle, which, oops, it's upside down, which I mentioned with root nodules. They absorb nitrogen and give it to plants, and they can also spit it back out into the air for a cycle like that. That's the nitrogen cycle, which is just as important as the water cycle that I've heard, that most of you have probably heard of. There's also the carbon cycle, which in this case most people usually only talk about fossil fuels and human emissions and plant photosynthesis, but actually microorganisms do a major part of absorbing carbon dioxide for their own photosynthesis and for releasing it with respiration and decomposition and all this jazz. I hope that this convinces you that microbiology is really cool and something worth learning more about. Today we talked about the human microbiome, plant and microbe symbiosis, and the impact that microbes can have on the world. Remember, just because something is small doesn't mean that it's not important. Thank you.